That is the worst idea.
Yeah.
If that actually happened, please tell me that didn't. If that
I
actually
heard people
happened,
saying that all over X today too. That filing that you saw, it has to be, that's just a lawyer filing something, right? That's not like, it hasn't been scheduled for a jury trial. It hasn't been accepted by the court that this will guaranteed go to a jury trial. That's just a filing that any lawyer could make, correct?
yeah. So I'll just very briefly explain just like the life of a lawsuit, right? So how it works is you have, you get a lawyer, they file a complaint, which is basically that's what this is, right? It's
Okay.
a long list of all the things that I think that you did wrong. Here are the specific laws that I think you violated, and here's what I want from you. I want money. Is what lawsuits really are always asking for. Sometimes they're also asking for injunctions, but that's neither here nor there. So you ask for a bunch of money, and then then you serve the lawsuit, right, on the other person. The other person, they get their own lawyer who then drafts a answer, which is basically a response to every allegation in the complaint, saying, yes or no, admitting or denying. Usually you admit the stuff that you just have no basis in denying, like what your name is, right? That's usually one that you admit, or if your address is your address. And then if the allegations, like,
is that partially why it's numbered? Like they
yes.
number. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yep. You literally like respond to it like via numbers, like in response to like number 7, like we deny the allegations thereof, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you just go down, and then you file that answer with the court. After the answer has been filed, and there's a deadline to do that, right? There's a deadline to file the complaint. That's called the statute of limitations. After a certain amount of time, you can't file one anymore. And then there's a deadline to file the answer. After that, there's a scheduling conference with the court where both sides call in and they set the schedule, right? And the schedule is, okay, we have this many months for discovery. We have like a deadline. You got to set experts by XYZ. After the whole discovery process, which includes interrogatories, requests for documents. So there could be a lot of documents that are pulled, right? Destiny could get a request for a whole bunch of documents that he might have to comply with. Deposition, right? We've all seen those. Forced interview, basically. And then after all that's done, then you start going into the actual, trial process, right?
That's and then that's what I thought. And I just wanted to, like, for the people, because I saw that got released today. I read through it. It does not look good for Destiny. But for me, I was like, if this is just this isn't something official from the court that they're certifying this or anything. This is going to be what the trial's about. It is just one-sided. He hasn't had a chance to respond. He may have competent responses. So to me, it was like, it's bad to hear the allegation. It certainly is. But I was like, this isn't like the judge read both sides and is making an accusation. And it's also not a criminal, right? This involved no criminal charges, right? This is civil. It's all civil. It did suggest an injunction. It did have an injunction of demanding Destiny delete all of material, but that's the only injunction part. The rest of it, I think, is just money, like basically suing for punitive and actual damages and attorney fees, the way I read it. So
that is one-sided. That's coming from her attorney. So it's not the judge coming down with any kind of decision or
he was I didn't see this. Someone says he was making responses today on stream. As an attorney,
that is the worst idea. Yeah. If that actually happened, please tell me that didn't. If that
I
actually happened, I
heard people saying that all over X today too. That he started off like the first half hour of his stream was like him responding to the actual document.
Oh, I remember seeing the document, and I want to talk on this a little bit because I think this was bad, right? I remember, when all this dropped, he was saying, "Well, I can't deny it because it's litigation now, et cetera, blah blah." That's fine if you actually don't talk about it,
right?
But he did talk about it, and in the complaint, they're citing times that he talked about it
on his Discord.
On and it looks bad, right? And it looks bad, and so you couldn't talk about it when it came to denying it, but you can talk about it when it comes to saying shit you shouldn't be saying. And if this is true, where he's going through the complaint on stream and addressing every point, that is. He's just not respecting the process. Maybe he's. I don't even want to speculate because I don't even know if
that's what I said. I haven't seen it, but I heard. Yeah. Well, the other thing is, and again, I'm not an attorney, but just thinking logically through this, not only could statements you make lead to a possible guilty verdict, like be evidence against you, but I think it could also increase the damages. Because if part of her argument is you've damaged my reputation, and now they're putting stuff in this filing saying, after this initially broke, he's putting on his Discord, she's just a money grubber. She's just, isn't that, if I'm her attorney, I'm making the argument that's further harming her reputation. So you have the reputation harm of the physical video, but then also of the attacks on her character, which could also
That'll be the argument.
And so it's like, I thought that his initial response was the correct one. Hey, I can't say shit, right? And then you had the Discord shit, which is bad. But then you also had his public post on X, where he's like, coming back today, looking for my costume, and it's the Dr. Disrespect shit. And so if I'm harmer attorneys, let's say he theoretically says, okay, yes, I did this, but it was sort of, I didn't intend for it to be made public to everyone, just one person, blah, blah, blah. And basically pleads to like, I'm very apologetic. I feel terrible. Doesn't all that provide evidence to the contrary? Like, you're joking about this shit online. Like, and so if you then try to go in and say like, well, I'm very remorseful on the penalty phase of this, that's all going to be brought up. Like, does this seem like someone who's sorry? And, if I'm him, I would make the argument, well, that's how I get through grief. Anxiety, I joke, but still, I think it's a jury.
You got to convince a jury.
That's right. As a jurist, I would be like, so if I believe that you did this shit and then you were joking about it, oh boy, the punitive phase of this is going to be fucking astronomical. It's different if someone's like, I fucking made a mistake. I made a horrible mistake. And that's the other thing, the question I had for like Erudite, right? Or any of the Orbiters, because in a weird way, I don't know how well you know some of these characters. I finally talked to Dan. I'd never met Dan or talked to him. I will say that Dan's stance of like, I don't give a fuck, I'm sticking by Destiny, he's my friend, I sort of respect. I'm not saying it's a decision I would have made, but to me, the scummiest thing would be, well, I'll see which way the headwinds go. If I think there's more benefit to doing a partnership with Destiny and I can get away with it PR-wise, then that's what I'm going to do. But if there's enough momentum against them, then I'm out. Like, to me, that's the scummiest thing. And so, like, when you see people like Erudite that were like, well, I knew about the accusations 2 months before they were made public, and I believe them. That's the key part, right? By the way, if you're listening and people say, oh, well, how could you have a problem with this because you voted for Trump? Because I don't believe the accusations against Trump.
Oh, so, I had a whole panel on that specific question.
Right.
But yeah.
So you don't believe me. But if you're admitting, and if someone's argument is, I don't believe Destiny did this shit, and you're like, but look at these quotes, he kind of admits it and say, yeah, but I think he was just trying to prevent her from committing suicide. So he just said that because they told her. That's actually, I could see someone coming to the conclusion, I disagree with it, but I can see them saying, I don't believe it. That's more of a reasonable than, well, I believe it, but I'm still standing by. But that's the people that say, I believed it, I heard about it, but I still kept doing my Bridges podcast with them every week with a smile on my face until it was made public. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to cancel the podcast. Like, it sounds to me that wasn't a decision you made based on morality. It was a decision you made based on business. That's what it sounds like. Which, whatever, just be honest with it. And so Erudite's explanation is, but I think the reason I stuck behind him is because I think he's remorseful. Really? Because the way he's talking about it on his Discord does not sound like a guy who's remorseful. So when's the remorse begin? Once the penalty phase hits? Then the remorse begins? If he's not found guilty, is he remorseful? I mean, so the whole thing, it's just like, I don't know. That was my question the whole time. It's like, fuck Destiny, you already blacklisted me. I don't give a shit. But if I'm saying I'm friends with Pixie, she's my friend, I believe her, and I kept doing a partnership with Destiny right until the point where this was made public, and now I've publicly changed my position. That sounds sketchy as shit to me. It sounds like you're not standing by Pixie because it's the right thing to do. You're standing by it for PR because, oh shit, it looks really bad for me now. So that's, in a weird way, I respect Dan more for saying, dude, I'm going to take the PR hit by being like, I'm going to stand by my friends,
I think, it looks fishy. I think that, and this was kind of I don't know all the details behind the scenes as to the like how much the various orbiters knew and how much they were involved. I guess to steelman the position a little bit for there, because after they cut ties, I did reach out and say, hey, like, I think that's you got to give some credit, right? I mean, there is a financial tie that you just can't deny, right? Sure. That exists there, and it's difficult, right, to separate from that kind of financial tie, right? Like, would I tell my boss to like go fuck off? yeah, if something bad enough happened, but like it would be difficult. It'd be have something that I have to plan around for sure.
If it's your friend or if it benefits you in significant ways, you are consciously and subconsciously more likely to be lenient towards them. And that subconscious thing's a huge. It's the same way in politics. If you hate Trump, you probably are more likely to believe E. John Carroll than if you like Trump. And some of that might be, it's because they hate him. But some of it's because you like him, dude. And don't get that twisted. It really is. That's true.
Well, 100%. And I think that maybe their argument could be, and I think it is to the most, like to the extent that they knew about what was happening, is, if they thought he was genuinely remorseful, and the things I've seen appear to indicate that at least he was feigning that, if he was, right? Because we see like, well, it appears to be remorseful, and then it becomes public, and then any kind of remorsefulness like charade goes out the window. I mean, but to give them credit, like it was around this time that they also began cutting ties. So maybe they felt lied to as well. Maybe they felt betrayed.
There's so many. I like, for example, I'll name names, right? I reached out to Pisco. I was like, you don't have to answer me, but I was just curious. What did you know and when did you know it? He's like, I didn't know shit till it was made public. I was like, okay, then there's nothing. I have nothing negative to say about it for you, right? If you didn't know and it went public, yeah, but Rob, what about there were rumors and accusations? Those are rumors. I hear rumors about all sorts of people. I don't have the time of day to sit there and look. You know how many times I've had people tell me almost every lefty I debate's the scum of, maybe they all are scum of the earth, but I had people from day one like, don't debate Destiny. He's done this in the past. Don't debate Vosh. He's done this. And maybe some of those accusations end up becoming true. But for me, it's just like, I'm not fucking moving in with the guys. I'm not having them be my roommate. These are just accusations. I'm just debating a guy for 2 hours online. I don't really give a fuck. I'm not saying I agree or disagree with them. I just don't care to look into them. I don't. And okay, it's a little worse if you're in a business relationship, but rumors are rumors. What I'm talking about is the people that say they know, but there's all kinds of defenses for them as well. Yeah. Well, I thought he was remorseful. Now I've seen his comments. I don't. Or now there are more people that are accusing.
Yeah, more. And so that's what's happened. A couple of people, and it's like, oh.
And so I just said, Erudite responded to me. I was like, okay, well, if you thought he was remorseful at the time, I'm just curious. Did you ask the following questions? Because here's the first thing. This seemed very simple to me. These tapes went viral. The most viral one was of Destiny filleting a dude, right? Did that guy give consent? Did the other girl? If I'm in Erudite's position and I say I was very pissed about this, and so I asked him, that's the first thing I would have asked. Did you do this to anyone else? I was like, did you ask him that? What did he say? Right? And she's like, well, these questions deserve answers, but I don't have time today, which is fine. She don't owe me shit. And I even said that like several times. I was like, if similarly to my belief of if you didn't condemn corruption, fuck you, I have no problem with any of these Destiny orders being like, fuck you, you don't like Destiny. I'm not going to say shit to you. Completely reasonable, to be honest. I'm like, yeah, fair. But what about your audience? What about the audience of people that like Pixie? They deserve an answer, I think. Not me. Who gives a shit about me? And so, to me, if you're like, well, and Erudite, I think, has a claim that makes this a little more important, which is I have counseled women in this position before. And so it's like, well, then you should be in a position to be like, well, wait a minute. If I'm trying to evaluate someone who made a huge mistake, if they are remorseful and change, the first step would be asking like, okay, are there any other victims? And if so, will you be reaching out to them? Because maybe they don't know. Maybe hypothetically, the guy that was involved in that sex acts with Destiny has no clue. That guy has the right to know that there's a video of him out now, right? I would think. I mean...
Oh, yeah, I would agree.
I don't know. I've never been in any sex video, to my knowledge, I guess. I didn't spend any time at Destiny's house, so I don't know. But, I would think I would want to know. Maybe not. Maybe you wouldn't want to know. But that's it. But I don't really
I would want to know. I would want to know, I would for sure.
But, for me, it's like I don't give a shit. I think that you could just straight up make the argument, yeah, I did it for money. But it's not just money. Look at Pisco's position. Let's say Pisco knew. And what if he says, well, I think Trump's really evil, and I'm trying to build this political movement to stop this evil guy. And yeah, now I think being attached to Destiny harms that. Before this was public knowledge, I thought it helped it. So fuck him now. I think that that's slimy, but it's honest. And it's I don't think that's unforgivable. Oh my God, you're the most evil person in the world. I'm just That's all I'm saying. I was just asking questions about it in general with the orbiter. I don't even know. Like, there's a serious question. How bad is it what Destiny did? No one wants to talk about it, but it's a serious question. And I was on, with Dan and them and Darius. And, I asked this question. I was like, listen, this isn't going to sound good for me, but I'll be honest. I've been at a party when someone I knew came out and showed me a picture of like some chick's tits and said, yeah, I banged that chick last night. It's fucked up. I've never done that. But how fucked up is that? Does that guy go to jail? Does that guy get put in the sex offender registry list? Should that guy be sued for 20% of his worth? I don't know. And like, there is a tendency to just be like, oh, it's like a sex crime. And I've certainly made my jabs violating consent, this and that, even on this show tonight. But there's a serious conversation. I don't think this rises to the level of sexually assaulting someone. I think that
it doesn't.
The accusation of being recorded without your knowledge is more serious. I think like being recorded with your knowledge and then that being given is really bad. But not even knowing that you were recorded and then having that recording set is somehow worse. Because as much as I don't want to victim shame, if you allow some internet celebrity that you barely know to film you having sex with them, there is part of you that should know that's probably going to be seen.
The behavior it's unwise, but I think there's like a line. Exactly.
But it's worse if you didn't know you were filmed, because then it's really like, well, I didn't do that stupid, by the way, I'm not trying to besmirch Pixie or anyone else by saying it's stupid. It is stupid. Don't film yourself having sex with anyone, period, would be my advice. But if you're going to do it, make sure it's someone you're in a long-term committed relationship with, because like the Tinder culture we live in, it's like, my God, what are you doing? Like, it's so bad. It's just so, but I digress,
No, you're right. There's a difference here, though. Like, and I know you're saying this. There's a difference between something that's unwise to do and something that is morally wrong.
Correct.
And I think that you can say, well, this is unwise. Like you shouldn't leave your car unlocked in a high crime area. You shouldn't do that.
But if your car gets stolen,
it's not. Yeah, if your car gets stolen, it's not your fault, right? Like the person, like the other person, is the bad guy. And so when you look at this. That's exactly how I look at it too. I agree as well that there's defenses that the various orbiters, for lack of a better term, I always find that term to be odd, but for the orbiters,
I started calling my followers Norbiters. That was a good, clever twist there. Yeah,
that is clever. Yeah, and so there's defenses that exist there, but I think this in particular, like, it's not as bad as sexual assault, but it's bad enough to like stand up and take notice. It's bad enough, especially now, because like revenge porn over time, like a lot of things, has been kind of recognized as getting worse in terms of just like the way we view it. And that's, by the way, that especially that was kind of hit a peak during the Me Too era. But I mean, generally speaking, sexual assault is becoming more and more serious, right? Like if you go way back, I mean, they were making movies making fun of it. Now it's a lot more of a somber tone. Sure. We're much more concerned about it. It's much more of something that's not a joking matter anymore, right? In the same way. And so that's sort of becoming this way when it comes to revenge porn as well. So when, I've had a lot of people tell me the same thing, right? Like somebody, brought up their phone and showed it. But I think that's becoming less common now as people begin to realize, as it should. Yeah, as it should. But I think that although it's not as bad as sexual assault, there's I think two things about this that make it particularly bad, right? That I would go as far as to say it makes it sort of very sociopathic, which is not only the action itself, but the response.
Yes.
Right? The response to something like that, right? If you do something that's bad, even if it's not terribly bad, and someone says, wow, that's pretty fucked up. If your immediate response is like, oh, fuck, yeah, that was pretty bad. I'm sorry about that. Like, you're redeemable. It's not the end of the world. You've done something stupid, and you should get a little bit of shame, and then you can recover from that. But if you begin to defend it or like double down on it and make it worse and like drill on it, which is exactly what I think he did, it's a whole new level of bad. And I think that in of itself is enough for him to get the flack that he's. And I think that in of itself is I think a lot of the orbiters saw that behavior and were just done with it, right? Because I mean, Pisco dropped him, Erudite dropped him, right?
We'll see if they go back.
That kind of.
Erudite?
That's the question. That's the question. If they go back, that's going to be, I think, a big deal. I'm hoping they stick by their principles on this, but we'll see.
So real quick, I just got to give the insult of the night against me comes from Devin in chat that says Norberters due to gravitational pull. Pretty fucking good. I got to give you, that's a good one tonight. So well done. Beats just called me a fat effing R word, so we'll take that. You're beating Connor here for that. Yeah, I think there's other things that make this uniquely bad. I think there's a pattern of this. There's also a pattern of him threatening to release DMs or pictures in the past, right? So then it's almost like a power dynamic, which speaks to like sociopathy as well, right? Where it's not just a sexual gratification thing, but it's also a power thing. I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying these are things.
It appears to be the case,
right? And he may have an explanation. I'm not saying he's guilty of anything. I thought I Steelman Destiny better than anyone I've heard. Destiny could say that he basically made his statements under duress, where it seems that he admitted fault because he thought that Pixie was suicidal and legitimately felt bad for her, and he wasn't going to quibble. Yeah, remember when we were banging, I said I'd like to give this to other girls. You're cool with that, right? And she said yes. That might be an argument that he makes. I don't know how
if that's true, like though all of this goes like
right
out the window.
And he
like,
could say, "What did you want me to do? Quibble with her while she's basically saying her life is ruined?" Instead, I too am a victim in that my video got released everywhere, and I feel terrible at the time. And so I'm just trying to console her, and then it spirals out of control. And by the time it spiraled out of control, I basically was like, okay, I made a bad decision commenting on my Discord stuff, but I'm pissed off because I'm a victim here, and now I'm being smeared by all of my audience, and my reputation's being damaged, when in reality, she did consent to this. I'm just saying that I don't know if I'm someone who stood by him, why I wouldn't have came up with that as a potential defense, but whatever. I'm not here doing pro bono work for fucking Destiny, I assure you. But that makes it worse. Two other things off the top of my head that I can think makes it worse. Because Destiny is someone who frequently talked about this sort of stuff, and he apparently, according to Pixie, had all of these conversations with her about what consent means as a 19-year-old woman. That's fucked up, right? Because it's like, then you really violated someone's trust, right? And then for me, I don't know that this has any legal bearing, but just as a grotesque, there is apparently a video of Destiny talking to Pixie's dad, and his dad on stream, and his dad's just like, "Thank you so much for being a good influence on my daughter." If I was that dad, let me tell you the rage that would be boiling in me, and so all of that just lines up to and it's on the left, and the left has been for better or worse, I think way too far sometimes with the Me Too shit. They've been on this consent thing for a long time. And so you have this, Destiny on this crusade against someone like Andrew Tate. And in effect, he's accused of things that you would consider things you would expect Andrew Tate to have been accused
Andrew Tate-ish, yeah.
And so it's like all of this piled up. It's like, it just looks, it's so bad. The history of all this shit happening, the power dynamics and all of that. So, I'll ask you, would you ever stream with Destiny again?
I in a sort of collaborationist way, I would only do so if there's a total 180. And I've said this, right? That there would need to be some kind of total 180 of like contriteness, apology, making things right, acknowledging wrongdoing, and some kind of demonstration that this person's not a complete sociopath, right? Because when you're engaging with somebody who is a complete sociopath, there's like a level of danger that makes me concerned. And I think that there's a level there, or at least I perceive there to be a level here that isn't there with the people that I do stream with in a kind of collaborationist way. Are you telling me that because even some of his biggest critics, like Andrew Wilson, will jump on and do a stream.
Did Piers Morgan with him?
With Piers Morgan, exactly. Except it's in a very sort of antagonistic way. I don't think I'd necessarily be opposed to that. It would be incredibly difficult for me, though, to not bring up the allegation somehow. And I do think that I'm guessing, I don't know this for a fact at all. My guess is that he's probably getting people to agree ahead of time to not bring that stuff up if they're going to have a conversation with him. Because, I mean, it is juicy. It's a juicy allegation, and people aren't bringing it up against him when he's going on.
And legally, that makes sense for him, though he is running his mouth apparently in other ways about the game. But legally, you would be like, I can't talk about this. I kind of almost am in exact agreement with you. I don't think that I did a couple streams with him where I just talked about my job with him because he was interested in that shit ain't happening. If it's go on Piers Morgan and talk shit on him, like be antagonistic towards him, that's different. Also, and I'm sorry to say this, and this might make me sound incredibly slimy, the venue matters, right? I don't know if it's like, I know I said I'm not going to do Wick's panel, but someone of the size of Wick, I might say no. But if it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me to do something like be on Piers Morgan show, maybe I do. It's not that I wouldn't partner with Destiny. It wouldn't be like, Piers wants you and Destiny to do a weekly show. Fuck that. I wouldn't do that. But if it's literally an hour of my time saying this guy's political opinions are bullshit, then maybe I'd do that. And things could change in the future if he seems remorseful or if enough time goes by or whatever that sort of things blow over. So be it. But yeah, that's basically where I'm at as well. I think, I wonder how tasty and tempting it'll be for that sweet clicks and money for a lot of these left-wing former orbiters to go back eventually.
It'll be tough.
Excuse to go back, and we'll see. But I mean, honest to God, like, look, I'll fuck with Pisco. And the other day when he was giving me shit and I'm on there and I'm like, oh, look at Mr. fucking Destiny Sweeper. Legitimately, I don't think he really swept for Destiny. I thought his statement was sort of milquetoast. I understand his position.
His first one was. His second one was pretty good.
Well, I didn't see the second one. But I will say this. I do think that there is a chance that as an attorney, one of the parties may have contacted him and said, can you give me some advice? And if that's the case, maybe that limits what he could say in some context. I don't know. But if I want to, and again, fuck Pisco's political ideology. I think he does a lot of shit that's real scummy in debates and stuff. That doesn't speak to me, though, him as an immoral person. The shit we're talking about with Destiny goes to a morality of character that is not, you're just a scumbag debater. That's too, I separate that very easily. Like, for me, there are people that I think are just the worst people to debate because they're super bad faith debating. I'd let them walk my dog. It's not like I'm fucking like, they're going to kick my dog. You see what I mean? But if you try to put yourself in Pisco's position, I think he probably put a lot of sweat equity in that New York project. And I think he did. Yeah. And that's
I just want to say, if you watch the second video, I mean, he's borderline in tears.
Yeah.
You have to give it to him. Like when you watch the video, like he starts out, his face is red, like his eyes look kind of teary, and he's like explaining all the effort that he put into it. And he said, it's done, right? Because some things happen that are just unacceptable. And that's when I messaged him. I was like, me too. You gotta give him credit for that. Yeah.
I did see, that is the one I saw. I thought it was milquetoast in this sense. I don't think that I think that it would have helped a lot if he said there, like, I didn't know about any of this shit. I did not know until it was me. Because to me, it was vague. I understood the vagueness of it, but the question that I had that I think a lot of people had was like, well, did you know about this for months and you just kept working with him? And I think that he has made it clear to me. I don't know that he's made it clear publicly, but he has made it clear to me that he doesn't want to talk about it publicly. But he let it be known to me, and I think thought it was okay that I say that he didn't know. He wasn't involved. It's not like he was involved in these gossipy things. This dude was like nose to the grindstone, politics.
I believe it. Yeah.
And I believe that too. I do believe that. And it wasn't like, because I don't think there's a lot that I've seen in Pisco's character where he's like Mr. Party guy, that like he's going out and maybe he's involved in like the gossip and shit. I didn't see a lot of that. And so I can believe, and to be fair, I asked fucking Dan. I said, Dan, you knew about this. Did you ever have a conversation with Pisco? He's like, fuck no, I don't like Pisco. So that seems to, his criticism of Pisco, though, has nothing to do with this. It has to do with Dan has a show with Destiny in Florida, and Pisco's sitting right in front of Dan, like, hey, move to New York. Do this show with me. And Dan's like, fuck you. Like
there's competition for him over
the orbiter, but that's neither here nor there. I don't give a fuck about business drama and stuff like that. So and I think you could say the same thing of people like Dan or Erudite that had shows with him. There is part of you that feels bad. That's like, it fucking sucks if through no fault of your own, you had a big project that you saw as helping your career or helping some cause, and it fucking falls apart because of the actions of your co-host. That sucks. That's like, Opie and Anthony does something stupid, and Opie's like, or Tenacious 100%. D, Kyle Gass saying about the assassination thing, and now Jack Black's like holding the bag, like, yeah, what am I supposed to do here? You know, I gotta condemn this shit, but he's still my friend. And so, yeah, I mean, I think this is more serious than the cop guy, but so that's my feelings on the Destiny shit. Like, I look, if you're still listening to Destiny, I don't think you're a bad person. Well, you're dumb, you're listening to Destiny, but no,